I'm here with Joe Burke from Ollyball. Welcome to Trailhead and welcome to Startup Week.
Thank you.
Excited to talk about your invention. Before we do, let's talk about you a little bit. So I think you moved here pretty recently from California. You have a family. Tell us what got you to move to Boise.
Yes, we've been here almost 90 days. I moved a bunch growing up. My father was an executive with AT&T. And so every time we moved, we went from a little house to bigger house. So we moved so many times growing up, it was easy for me. It was tough because we have 3 kids. And so our last stop was California. And we were in Orange County, which we had so many great friends there. But we really wanted to get our family to another place. And so we'd had enough of California, honestly. And so we looked at Texas, Tennessee, Germany, New Zealand, and then
a couple of outliers there.
Yeah, a couple of outliers.
Did you actually go to every location and you kind of checked it out?
We did, yes. Well, I didn't. My wife didn't make it to New Zealand or Australia, but she went to the other places. And in the end, we came here last November. It was cold. Checked it out. My kids worked out with some sports teams. I got to meet some people, and we don't know a soul here, but it felt absolutely right. So
it was a feeling. If I were to, my follow-up question was, what was the one thing? So was it a feeling, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it felt like soul cleansing. Is cheesy as that sounds, it just felt right.
Let Idaho cleanse your soul. No, I like
That's
that.
That's it.
I'll take it. I've been here for 20 years, and like we talked about it earlier.
Well, I should have talked to you. I would have saved myself 19 years.
Yeah, but I think there's something to be said about you making that choice for yourself and going through the pain points, because then you truly appreciate what you have here.
Agreed.
If people talk you into coming here, like my parents, they pretty much made me move here when I was 18. The first 2 years it was all comparisons to where I used to live and why this place sucks. But eventually I made it my own. Like I said, been here for 20 years. I probably won't ever leave. So welcome to our community.
Yeah, I'm
super stoked to have you. I know you have a pretty incredible background, so I don't want to spend too much time setting this up, but your tenure at Disney was pretty pivotal to what you did next. So tell us a little about Disney, what you did there, and kind of what that led to.
Sure, it was my second full-time job ever. I was the national brand director for the Disney stores. And I did a lot of synergy work with Buena Vista Pictures. I started at Ratatouille and left at Wall-E. And I really wanted to know the Disney way. I had had my own company since I was 7, starting with a paper route. I started a company out of college at the age of 21. They failed miserably. And my wife and I, when we got married, things changed. We had kids, and it's all of a sudden you need health insurance and this. And I loved having my own company in Santa Monica, and now I've got a bigger group of people. So I said, okay, what's going to be more secure? Oh, let's get a job. Careful about that. So I ended up applying for Google. I said, let's just start at the top. So I got an offer to go up to Mountain View after 8 phone interviews to Google, and then they said you got to wait 6 months to get a job. And in the meantime, long story medium, I ended up at Disney. Series of interviews, and I had a really good portfolio of work. I'd been freelancing for the top ad agencies in the world. I'd been writing campaigns, working on a lot of different things. Anyway, they took a shot on me. I absolutely loved it. It was an hour-and-a-half drive each way to Pasadena from where we were living. But I wanted to learn the Disney way, and I wanted to know why Disney sweeps clean floors. And if I could boil Disney down to one thing, yes, it's about entertainment, it's about kids, it's about animation, it's a magical world. But the difference with Disney is they sweep clean floors. They don't let things get dirty. They don't let problems erupt. And with our company and how we built it in the very early stages of Ollyball was taking the same way we do now, every customer is a guest, and we get ahead of problems before they become bigger problems.
So you actually are applying the Disney way to Ollyball, or you
Yeah.
have applied it over time.
The hour and a half each way to Disney was probably well worth it just to learn the Disney way.
Okay. So as a transferable skill, that was the one thing that transitioned. So let's get into it. Ollyball. Tell me about how you came up with the idea.
Well, I can't take full credit for it.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Sure. I'd probably the biggest amount of credit to my daughter, who was 9 years old at the time. She was playing soccer in the house. At the time, we were living in California, Southern California. It was blazing hot that summer. And she's kicking a soccer ball in the house, breaking stuff. And I'm like, get the ball out of the house. And, she's like, no, I got to practice this and that. It's too hot to go outside. Kicks it again, knocks over some stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Get the ball out of the house. And then she's standing there on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of the kitchen crying. And I'm like, all right, I just got Father of the Year. And I said, how come nobody has made a ball you can play with in the house? It was kind of just a very simple and
So you blamed it on the
stupid-
ball. The fact that you made Father of the Year was the ball's fault.
It was the ball. It was always the ball's fault.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
And,
that's what you wanted to fix.
That's what I wanted to fix, the
Okay.
pain in the market.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't think about toys as solving a pain in the market. Now, a lot of the work that I had done, my own companies, mentoring, incubators, other companies, was always about addressing the pain in the market. But no one really thought about toys in this way. And at the time, I just said, how come nobody has a ball you can play with in the house? So that day, my daughter and I said, okay, you know what, let's figure this out. So I take a balloon and I put some painter's tape on it. And I'm like, this is kind of a ball, but it acts like a balloon. It doesn't do this. That one Saturday.
That was your prototype, essentially.
That was the first prototype. I still have a picture of it because I remember we had spent a couple hours on it, and I got on the internet and I started studying the physics, the size, the shape, the weight of a soccer ball. And we went down, we took a ball, and my daughter we were throwing it up in the air, and she goes, I like this one. We got in my car, we drove down to the post office where they had a sensitive scale so I could weigh it. And her and I got a picture of it in the back seat still. And this was actually about a month before my son, so I always know when this happened because about a month before my son was born, and he's 5 now. So anyway, we put the ball back there, and that one day turned into an obsession. It turned into 100 different prototypes. We end up getting a trademark, which is easy if you got $300. And then I had a buddy that I was still on several nonprofits. So I was volunteering time with a nonprofit with a buddy who was a patent attorney. I brought it to him. I says, can you patent this? He goes, it's really tough to patent a ball. So I showed him what I had and I showed him what I was thinking. He goes, you know what? You could actually patent that, the shock absorbing component to this and the way the physics work. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? He goes, it's expensive. It's going to take some time, but if you want to do it, you can do it. So between the prototype, which I still had not invented the ball yet. I mean, I still didn't have the invention, but I knew what needed to be done to get the patent. I started studying all the other patents on balls. Then I started studying what I was doing, and I started looking at the physics, and I started looking at materials, and I had this big, clear garbage bag that's called the big bag of fail. And my kids, they know it, they've seen it, and every time I had a failed prototype, I'd stuff it into the big bag of fail because I wanted them to see, and also me to see, the pain that it took to get there. So 100 different prototypes. I'll fast forward the story. We end up coming up with something that's pretty cool. I convinced some guy to sew the thing. The guy has no idea what I'm doing. I got this DuPont material. He wants me to I want him to make a ball out of it. And he says, why? And I'm like, just can you do it? And he goes, sure. I go, how much? He goes, $80. I go, for one? He goes, yeah. He goes, look, if you're going to take my time and just $80. I'm like, fine. So I get the first prototype made, and it was pretty good. And there was 2 mistakes that happened that were perfect because I was impatient that led to the combination of materials and the way that it works.
So mistakes ended up leading you to...
Yes.
How did you carve out time? How did you pay for this? Did you take money? Did you bootstrap this until you got to the first version of Ollyball?
That's a great question. And I tell you, it's a great story. I don't want to say lesson. It's a great story for anybody else that has an idea, is that you don't have to, if you're unemployed, if you are employed, if you have a full-time job you love, if you have a full-time job you hate, if you are 82 years old, if you're 12 years old, you can do exactly what we did, which is not only get a patent, win a Toy of the Year award, a Boys Life top 19 of 2019, and we've sold over 500,000 since February of 2019 worldwide. Anybody can do it.
So what's the playbook? Break it down. If you say everybody can do it, how did you do it?
I decided once that I was going to do it. That day.
Was it that day?
It was that day. That Saturday when I went with my daughter and we turned a terrible day where she was crying in the kitchen to this beautiful day where we went together to the post office and we were laughing and playing together with this ball. That's the day I said, my kid was playing ball in the house and breaking things. That sent us on a quest to create the ultimate indoor play ball. That one impenetrable, impossible, persistent pitch and mantra happened that Saturday on the way back from the post office, and it exists today. We actually trademarked Play Ball in the House. We own that trademark as well. But when we won the Toy of the Year award in New York City at the Oscars of the toy industry, the first thing I said in front of the entire audience was, our kids were playing ball in the house, breaking things. That sent us on a quest to create the ultimate indoor play ball. The pitch is...
It's pretty much what you said a couple of minutes ago, right?
Exactly, which is what everyone... If you have an idea, a concept, something you've already built, maybe you already have a business that's doing pretty good. If you can instill an impenetrable, impossible, and persistent pitch and mantra to what you do, you will eventually get it. You will eventually achieve it, and everyone that tells you you're nuts, and you asked about money, yes, I was $40,000 of my own money, and I wasn't given money as a kid. I'm not a trust fund kid. My dad started climbing telephone poles and taught us work ethic. I had a paper out when I was 7 years old. But
so 40 grand is not.
It wasn't dropping a bucket, and especially with 3 kids. And we were just had a newborn, but it was important to me. And I was probably 40,000 into the patent, and people were like, "What are you doing?" You know, your question was, how could someone do it? How was this done? How is it money? You make the decision once. If you make the decision once that you're going to make the ultimate indoor play ball, you eventually will. People get what they think about most of the time, and they eventually will. So that is the one lesson. And I can't say the things that I did and the sacrifices that we made and the things that, kids wanted a pool, the neighbors got a pool. And I'm like, my wife's like, we're well over a pool into this thing.
Could have had 2 pools by now.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know what?
I'm going to take a deep dive into some of those pain points because, as a family man, as someone who's constantly surrounded by entrepreneurs who are telling me about the next greatest thing in the world that I should be a part of, I play with those thoughts, right? There's a point you're going to jump off the cliff. Like, I haven't stepped too close to the cliff yet, but it's probably going to happen at some point. So I'm definitely going to dive into that. Let's get back to, you got the prototype. I understand you're winning awards.
Yeah.
You're exporting to 18 countries. Yep. When did it sort of click that this is going to be the thing? Like, it's not only going to make you money, but it's going to be a business that you can grow and scale. Like, at what point did you have that realization that this is going to make it?
It's coming.
Okay.
It was that Saturday, I'll be honest with you, because I knew what it was for me and my family. This was the opportunity for me to be a hunter and a farmer.
Were you subconsciously looking for the thing? Because it seems like it crossed your path in the kitchen, and you just latched onto it like a pit bull and you didn't let go. So it almost seems like you were maybe subconsciously looking for the thing? Or?
Good, you know what? Very insightful. You're right. And what happened was, I had always had my own companies. I went to work, I was the national brand director for a teen fashion company called Wet Seal. What we did there was impossible. We did $2.6 million on e-commerce over the previous year's fourth quarter with no money. And I did it with a team of 4 people. That actually led me to Disney after 3 months there. What we did at Disney was impossible. What we did at Goodwill was impossible. We grew retail 8.6% over a national average of 0.4. No one believed the numbers. And it was all done with very committed people. But here's what I learned, and this was the inspiration for me, because I was an entrepreneur. I didn't like being at companies so much because I knew what to do. I knew what to do, and I knew that I was willing to take the risk, and I loved my teams. And I said to my teams, look, do it. If anything goes wrong, if it's a big failure, I'm taking the heat for it. I'll be the one that gets fired. I don't care. Let's do it. And they had the confidence to do it. And Goodwill, how we did that, that was them. That wasn't me. I gave them the courage and the trust to do it, and if it failed, it was my fault.
So you empowered people, you achieved results through them.
Exactly. But the one thing, to get back to your point, your very insightful point, is that I wanted my own. I wanted to own my own thing, that I could make my own mistakes, pay for my own mistakes, where I could go out and celebrate the victories with the people around me, but not have to kiss a ring, not have to ask for permission to make ridiculous decisions that make no sense. I would never, ever, ever, ever get away with what I do every day at this company, at a company.
See what you're describing, and I've worked with that person at the big companies. Those are some of the suffocating elements of corporate, of structure, of hierarchy, and so I see them. They struggle. Many of them really haven't figured out that it might be the entrepreneurial bug that they're infected with, but they come up against these things where failure is, on paper is encouraged and accepted. But in reality, if failure occurs, accountability takes place and heads will roll. And so it sounds to me like, back to you were looking for it even if it was subconscious, but it was sort of, you were looking for like a liberating thing, right? You wanted to get out of this confined.
I wanted to own it.
You wanted to own it.
I wanted to own it. I've had really good mentors and really good friends, a couple billionaires, very humble, you'd never know it, T-shirts and flip-flops. One of them told me, one advice he gave me, he said, you got to own it. And he wanted to invest. And he goes, you know what, I'll give you, and it was a fat check. He goes, but I'll tell you, don't take it. Because I'm going to tell you what to do. And guess what, I'm going to make more money than you will. So he goes, best advice I can give you is don't take my money.
Did you take it?
No. Nope. In fact, when the thing started blowing up, when we got into some major retailers, I said, and he was happy for me. This guy didn't need money. He was a great mentor. I've had a number of these guys, and again, I met them all in the nonprofit world, all volunteering time. And that wasn't my point in going to nonprofit world. It was just that's kind of where they are, and they don't. That'd be another great advice. You want to help yourself, help somebody else. Go get involved in a nonprofit you're passionate about, and just
if I could
donate some
only
time.
think of a nonprofit, you guys, that you could go and join. Well, we'll come to that later.
Well, I've been here less than 90 days, so
yeah. Okay.
And I'm here.
That's right. You're on stage, which is refreshing. We haven't had many events here as of late, so this is bringing sort of the spirit back into the space, and I thank you for that. So let's talk about one of the scaling aspects of your business. You talked to me about the impact that social media and influencers have, right? And I shared with you a little bit about my lack of experience with influencers and social media, and in a general, let's call it a risk awareness of, do I really want to give my product to an influencer?
Yeah.
If my product is good enough, do I really need an influencer to tell the world? No, I don't. That's been sort of the narrative that I've been hearing. But tell me about your view of social media influencer, what it did, and how you went about engaging with that element in your business.
It's a great question, and companies are constantly trying to crack the DNA of social influence. So we've had well over 30 million views of Ollyball on the internet between TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. We have posts with over 300,000 comments. Now, what I can tell you from all of this is that you cannot apply an algorithm to it. You can't. It's too different. Let me give you some examples. So we hooked up and again, I've never reached out to an influencer either. They've reached out to us. So we had a guy, Jamie Salvatore, really smart dude, VAT19, 7 million subscribers out of St. Louis. They do all these kind of crazy shows. Anyway, he reaches out, wants to buy some Ollieballs to resell them and wants to do a video. And I said, tell you what, why don't me and my daughter fly out to St. Louis and we'll film a video together. And I said, I want 1 million views. He goes, and I said, I just want to have 1 million views so I can say I had a video with 1 million views.
Yeah, it's cool.
I had no intention of making money at it. And I knew it helped in my retail channels because retailers are always looking for the marketing support. So I said, okay, well, if at least I had that little feather in my cap, it's another, it's another argument I can put forth. So we go out there and he's laughing. He says, well, I think we can get at least 200, 250. I'm pretty sure we can get that. Anyway, we worked the script. We had a ton of fun. Everything was completely authentic. None of it was staged. It was just goofy. And we didn't overthink it. It dropped December 10th, 2019. On the first day, 1.5 million views. To date, it's over, I haven't checked in a while. Last month, when I checked, it was at 5.5 million views. Our sales, the conjoint we were already trending. You could see the attribution.
So direct correlation between
Right
views
through the
and
roof.
sales.
Right through the roof. And in fact, that carried our momentum over. We were in the top 10 of all toys on Amazon for Easter in 2020. And again, you can see all these channels. And the other thing you got to do is ignite all channels. So our toy store channel was huge. Now, COVID hit, and overnight, 99% of toy stores were out of business. So thank God we had 6 other channels. So we had e-commerce channels. We have Target.com, we have Walmart.com, we have Amazon.com. Then we have our mid-tier. Then we have our majors. We actually go on the shelf of all U.S. Target stores this week. And there's another biggie that we're working on.
Congrats.
That's
huge.
And then Hobby Lobby called us, H-E-B called us, CVS called us. I mean, we got lucky there because we had built a reputation with toy stores. We had built a reputation on social media. We had, and anytime, and I mean, I can tell you a little bit of a trick about the DNA, is you got to be so adaptable and so aware when something happens. So, case in point, this kid on TikTok puts a video of our soccer ball version of this up, and all of a sudden, this thing gets, it got 500,000 views and a bunch of comments. And so he contacts me. He's like, hey, I did this video and my mom bought me this toy. And I immediately called him. I said, how old are you? He goes, 17. I go, can you get your parents on the phone? And so long short of it is, I was able to work out a deal where I paid him immediately, with the consent of his parents, to do more campaigns. And I gave him a percentage with a coupon code of everyone he sold. And it was entirely adaptable. The flow came the other way.
So you shared in it,
The flow came the other way, and once we got a wisp of it, we engaged them and took off. And then you can create your own social media.
Tell me about the pain points, about the sacrifices you had to make, because those are the things that come up in my mind when I think about, and most other entrepreneurs who want to make the jump off the cliff, is I always come up with the reasons not to, right? And so I haven't had that thing happen yet where I sunk my teeth in to the point where I just won't let go no matter what. So tell me about, how does it work? Do you sit down with the wife and you go, hey, honey, can we do this together? Are you in? Do you have to get her support first? How do you get her to be a co-founder?
Well, she knows me. I mean, the kids go to bed around 10 and I stay up till 2. I mean, and it's been that way for years. I would say, to answer your question, it's one word, it's purpose. If there's purpose behind it, and the more people told me I was crazy, the more people I saw wish they would have done something like this themselves but didn't, the more they hated it, the more it kind of fueled my purpose. I wanted to say, you know what, no, if this started with my daughter on a Saturday, and this is about bringing joy to parents and kids, I ain't gonna let go of that.
So to kind of wrap things up, talk to the TMs of the world, the ones that are kind of on the cliff, and also think back to the kind of advice and mentorship you would have given yourself, back on that Saturday in that kitchen. Give me some advice. I heard, be crystal clear on your conviction, know your why.
Yep.
What else? What other takeaways do you have to share with entrepreneurs who are considering to make the leap?
Now, this is just me, okay? And I don't want to offend any tech people that are, building big switchblades.
I love where this is going.
But I will tell you, it's a very simple thing. Keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Your cost of manufacturing you're going to be like, oh, it cost me X amount to make it, and we could sell it at wholesale. There's going to be 3,000 people's entities, companies, and portals between here and there. They're going to chip away at it. Your margins have to be obscene. Obscene, and I mean obscene, to make it to the finish line and to be profitable. Because people, I see it all the time. I get people call us all the time, hey, I got this idea for a product and I love helping people out. I'll always vet it and I go, what's your cost of manufacturing? And and I'm like, oh, you will never make money at this. So you've got to figure out, and what we did is that we just found ways to get things done. It would take forever to tell you all the things, but I just kept chipping away, finding ways, because I knew where this thing had to be to go here. And so, yes, our margin's obscene, which gives us the ability to do things that other companies can't. Second thing I would say when it comes to conviction, be absolutely willing to die other than see your company fail. If it is your company and you own it, don't give too much of it away. I talked to some other people, and by the time they get into revenue, they own about 20% of it. Great, share, and if it's profitable and it works, fantastic. but know that this thing is going to grow out of your control. And if you're okay with that, great. Then you got it to where it's supposed to go. I forget Bill Gates at the end only owned a smaller percentage of Microsoft, was yet a billionaire. And that's great. And I think that's a great model to go.
How many Microsofts are there though, right?
There's so many.
Not so many. Yeah.
But for me, and what I wanted to do, I don't want to keep asking. I just want to be able to do without asking
You're being
anyone.
held back, really, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I wanted more than anything is to own it, to control it, to be able to build it the way I wanted to build it, and to take my family and have that be the ultimate purpose and driving force.
We're about out of time. I want to make sure I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Thank
in.
you.
You've been here for 90 days. Feels like you've been here much longer. The way you talk about Boise and Idaho, it's your home now.
I love it here.
Thanks for sharing the story on Ollyball.
Got to do it.
Gotta do it.
By the way, it is patented, absorb shock, and you can color it in with markers and crayons. Comes black and white, and it doesn't break cameras.
Thanks everyone for joining. Another session, call it a fireside chat with Joe Burke from Ollyball. We'll see you guys soon.